Alright, I'm going to play the genuine reaction of me figuring out my laptop camera finally works at the end. But I'm gotta get right into the Broken Eye Lightbringer series, book 3. I've done the first two books. I did the first book with a non-spoiler video and a spoiler video. The second one, just a spoiler video, because I figure, hey, if you like the first one, you should probably read the second one, and I don't have to convince you to read the second one because you already know how good the first one is. And that brings us to spoilers about the third book, which was my favorite. So, again, spoilers for the first three books. Book 3, The Broken Eye, my favorite book in the series so far. I haven't read the fourth book, and the fifth book isn't out yet. Alright, so I got to talk about the characters because the characters are phenomenal. First of all, I'm glad that Dazen died in the last book, so we don't have to get any boring prison scenes. But for the ones that you thought you missed, you are still getting them because Gavin was in a jail for quite a bit of this book, and he ended in jail. Um, the Gavin arc was definitely my least favorite arc in terms of following different characters and stuff. But I still liked it. I thought the flashbacks were good. A lot of them were. There were a lot, but I mean, you're probably used to that by now from the first two books. Also, it was more interesting seeing Gavin in prison because you could relate to him. The flashbacks made sense, yada yada yada. And also, it was interesting seeing him on the boat with Gunner and how he was like trying to get off the boat, but he didn't have his powers, and not having his powers was super new for him because usually he was super powerful. The flashback that I really liked with the Gavin thing, or with the Gavin arc, was the one where he's reminiscing or looking back on when he's, I forget what they called it, but when when he had to like kill all those people in a row for the religious reasons, basically, because you can't have color whites running around in this world. So he had to he it said he spent like 36 hours killing people, and he and it was a pretty lengthy flashback of him remembering all these people he killed and remembering the exact person he killed, which caused him to stop believing in Orholm. So that was interesting. Um, I thought the Gavin arc was good, even though it was my least favorite. Now we'll get into Iron Fist, who you didn't really get his point of view too much, but he was always around, and of course he's still awesome. He's and the religious thing with Gavin, where he kind of doesn't take it seriously. Iron Fist does take it seriously, and he really takes to heart the vows he's made to Orholm. However, we know he's made those vows to Orholm, but it's hinted at early in the book that he is conflicted because he has two sets of vows, and I guess you don't really know who the second set of vows is, and I don't know, this part didn't I it didn't trigger any red flags for me early in the book, but later, like, I didn't really think that his second set of vows would be family vows to Andros Giles' slave Grim Woody, because you didn't know they were related, and I could not have predicted that, and I I was definitely very surprised, quite frankly, because Iron Fist seems like just a good guy, perhaps like the most morally good person in the book, and it's like, oh, but he's actually working with the bad guys. So, yeah. These two conflicting oaths with Iron Fist make him super interesting, and I'm very interested to see where he's going to go in the next book and what he's going to do. And I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I thought I knew him so well. I thought me and Iron Fist were boys, but apparently not. Apparently not. I like Iron Fist, probably one of my top two favorite characters in the book. Definitely very interesting. I liked him before, but now it's just so intriguing. I have no idea where he's gonna go, or who he's gonna help, or who he's gonna side with, or which one of his oaths will he break if his oaths conflict with each other. Speaking of dual loyalty, Tyr. Tyr didn't get strapped into any oaths really. Obviously, she took the Blackguard oath, but so basically, she's a good guy or on like Kip's side, and has to infiltrate this secret organization. Ooh, of all peril casters, which the peril is interesting. It seems like too strong. You know what I'm saying? Like you could go invisible, you could just kill people instantly. Like, but it's fine. I'm okay with it. Especially the invisibility I like because it lets you um, hear snippets of what Andros thinks. Like it's actually a good plot device because towards the end she was in Andros's castle and she hears him working with the leader of the Broken Eye, and it's like, oh, Andros has his toe dipped in everywhere. So no matter what side wins, he wins. That's how he's worked it out. Which I guess leads me into Andros, talking about him. He is a great villain. Also, one of my favorite characters, maybe one of my favorite villains ever. You've got Zyman, who Andros is definitely manipulating. Zyman's just like kind of a power hungry person, and Andros is bribing him with power. Kip, he tries to manipulate in different ways, obviously, by threatening Tyr and stuff, and throughout, I think that was a lot last book, but even this book, he tries to manipulate Kip as well. You know, Gavin and Andros didn't interact in this book, but, you know, he obviously has a history of manipulating Gavin. He manipulates the council or whatever, or the color spectrum, I believe it's called, the people on like the leadership council, and he's successful at nudging a lot of them in his direction, or if someone's not in his direction, he'll like secretly, I don't know, kill them, or they'll die in some mysterious thing or lose all their power. And he doesn't do that all right away. It's done over multiple years. And yeah. So his manipulating is great, his scheming, plotting, you know. It's good how you kind of know what he's doing, but you don't really, and he could throw a curveball and just say, you know, like, oh, this side's gonna have power soon. I should manipulate them now. And he's kind of on the color prince's side too. You feel like no matter who comes out in the fight, Andros is gonna be the leader of everything, and that's what makes him great. That's what makes him a great villain, in my opinion. But yeah, I mentioned the color prince, and you know, his arc and the Live arc, they played like a central role in the second book, but they played like obviously a lot less of a role, almost no role in this book, which I personally am okay with because I like what they did with Andros and that sort of development. But it's kind of like weird. This, like, I don't know what they're doing. They should be doing bad things, right? I don't know. They've kind of just hung out, and it's weird because most of the book takes place in the Chromaria, and they're like, oh yeah, there's like a war going on, and like the people who are leaders of where the war is and where the occupied territory is are pretty upset about that, but like no one else cares. It's believable because that can happen in real life as well when like no one cares about something until it affects them. Liv meeting her father at like some random tavern. I thought that was cool, and it was a very human interaction. They are civil with each other, aren't they? Considering they're on opposite sides of a war and they're both fairly high ranking, with Corvin on the color spectrum and Liv being the highest ranking super violet crafter in the Color Princess army. So they both have a lot of power. They're on opposite sides, but Corvin still maintains the father role very well and tries to make Liv see reason, even though it's definitely not working. But Liv, again, like we kind of know from the last books, Liv is a fairly free thinker and she might come to the right conclusion anyway. And that's kind of what was going on in Corvin's head. Corvin was happy that she was very adult and she had grown up, and Corvin was like, oh my god, I haven't seen you in 4 years maybe. And it's like, wow, you're just a different person, my child. you know? But it was a good human interaction. I liked it. Also, just to finish out the villains, Aram or Aram, however it's pronounced, he's a good, low tier henchman villain because he's got solid motives and, pure hatred of Kip, Cruxer, and the Blackguard, and he feels like they ripped him off. And he's kind of a natural ally with Zyman, actually, and we saw that a bit. Okay, but now we got to talk about the love triangle with Kip, Malargos, and Tyr, and obviously Kip loves Tyr, so that makes it different than the conventional love triangle where the person is genuinely conflicted between who they want to be with. But I think Kip genuinely wants to be with Tyr, but might be with Malargos just for family practical reasons, and Andros is kind of manipulating him that way, and Malargos is attractive, so like it's like him settling basically. And for a lot of it, he didn't think Tyr liked him, so it made sense. And then, of course, we got to talk about the zip lining Kip Tyr kiss, which was hilarious. It was like when that device came out of the top of that tower and goes over to the other island. I don't think they called it zip lining, but in my head I was just picturing a zip line, and I'm like, oh my god, Kip and Tyr are gonna go on this and like kiss or something, or like have some sort of romantic thing. And I like my predictions overall in the book were horrible, but I was so sure about that one, and I just like cracked up when it happened. It's just such a funny romance scene because it's the classic trope of a romance thing that reads well, and you're like, oh wow, this is so romantic, and it's like, why can't I zip line with the love of my life across a beautiful city, and like, why can't that happen to me? But so it's like the totally unrealistic thing that would obviously never happen, but if it did happen, it's super impractical and it wouldn't go the way it went in the book, because just imagine going at 40 miles an hour and or like I'm just making up that number, but they're probably going pretty fast down the zip line and just kissing someone. And like, what if like the wind blows one person into the other? It's like, oh, I guess I just lost my tooth. Or like, what if the zip line like bumps or something? And I don't know why I'm like envisioning myself like skiing, even like skiing casually down like a pretty small hill. Like if I had to like kiss someone while even casually skiing, that would go so badly. It it would just be horrible. So it was just like, the cliche romance scene, um, but it was funny. I liked it. It was cute. Um, Even though impractical and whatever. And it was also well timed, I thought, because it's like, oh, this is great. Like, we love each other, but like, we're not gonna be together because I don't know, different responsibilities and dramatic tension for the next few books. But yeah, they're they're probably gonna end up together unless one of them dies or something. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I look forward to the romantic subplot continuing, and it kind of replaces the Gavin Karis thing, even though both of them are still alive and that still exists. Oh yeah, I should talk about the Karis White Oak. I enjoyed her plot a lot too. I liked how she developed as a character. The White having a job for her and not really telling her the full extent of it, and then being like, oh yeah, the plan is that you're just going to replace me as leader of the seven satrapies. There will be an interesting dynamic. If Karis is the White, Andros still exists and is the Promachos and has his own puppet as the Prism. So it's kind of a good balance of power. Karis probably won't be able to do anything, even though will be the White. Okay, let's see if I can summarize this Karis Gavin story from the top. The classic tragedy of being in love with a man in your teens, but then getting forced into an arranged marriage with that man's brother, and then forced to carry his child, and then disappearing for a year, and then coming back and hating that man, and then you thinking the love of your life is dead. But that man's brother is actually the man that you love, just disguised as that man's brother. And this masquerading man loves you, but he can't tell you he's the man that you love too. And also, the man you love doesn't even know why you're mad at him, aka his brother, or what even happened there. So, like, he doesn't even know how to interact in any way. So, this goes on for 16 years. And then the man finally admits that he is the one that you originally loved all along. And then you get married, and then he gets taken by pirates. That's pretty sad. But then, some royal family takes him and starts torturing him, and then you have to rescue him, and then you rescue him. But then, after you rescue him, like 2 seconds later, he gets taken again, and it's like, Karis, keep your darn eyes on this guy. Oh my god, what are you doing? It's great that happened, but even besides that, the Karis plot was great in terms of her having her strong personality and being pretty headstrong, and her being fairly good at decision making. Basically, I like this book a lot. I like all the characters. Um, Obviously, I've talked about in my review of the first book how much I like the world building and the magic system. So the characters is the last puzzle piece you need to make a great series, and this book delivered. We're going to do a tier list of characters. So, top tier, Andros and Iron Fist. Right below them, I'll go Gavin, um, Karis. Tier I like, I don't know. I'm doing this on the spot. The White is good, even though she's dead now. Below that, um, Kip could even be in that tier that I just mentioned. He's a lot less annoying in this book, but we'll go tier in the tier below that. All the rest of the people in the Blackguard, Kip's like Cruxer and all those other people have like unique personality quirks. Maybe Irina. Irina's not that great. Or Malargos, whoever the one Kip is marrying. Oh yeah, and then there's the one that took Gavin, the other Malargos, who is fine, I guess. Uh, Pretty good, but there's very few characters that I'm like, oh, this one's like really someone I don't like. Um, Maybe I don't know. I don't really like Simon. Him wanting to incest his mom, that's pretty weird. The true romantic subplot of this book. No, just kidding. Oh man, the less said about this, the better. Oh jeez. I was expecting him to realize that the person he was lusting over was his mother at some point and be like, oh, that's really awkward to have thought about. But no, it was like, oh, that would make this even better. And it's like, no, no, oh my god, not Game of Thrones and now this. Oh man, but um, no, it was funny, but I don't really like Simon. As far as Liv and the color prints go, they were fine in this book. They didn't really play much of a role, which I know I mentioned earlier. Um, I did like them in the last two books, especially Liv in the first book, and the color prints had some interesting insights in the second book. So there's a lot of potential for them in the fourth book now. But they were just there, not big players, not too interesting. Anyway, super excited for the fourth book. I have to read the fourth book before the fifth book comes out, so I can make a video right after the fifth book comes out if I speed read it, even though I'm not a fast reader, but that's fine. Yeah, I think that's my video, and yeah, I'll throw some bloopers at the end because I'm just, I don't know, I'm in a very goofy mood today, so it's I feel like this was a good recording session. So yeah, like, subscribe, whatever, whatever. See ya. Bye. One more thing. The Iron Fist Tremble Fist fight was awesome. Tremble Fist is a low-key good character. He's like, well, I might be a little bit better at fighting with Iron than Iron Fist is, but he's a way better leader, so he should be in charge. Like, that was his internal thought process from like 16 years ago or however long ago, and Iron Fist didn't know that he threw the fight, but then Kip figured that out and just like casually tells Iron Fist thinking that Iron Fist knew. Oh man, that was awesome. I loved it. I loved it. Oh my god, this is amazing. I just oh my god. I can't even speak. My laptop has a camera, and it has never, ever in the history of my laptop worked. So I always use this awesome camera from 2008 or something, and it would be in the 4:3, like horrible resolution. And then I would have to like twist this to try to get the focus right, and it was never right. It was always horrible. But this camera is great, and it's a wide view, so you can see into my closet, and you can see this door. Um, oh man, this is amazing. This makes me very happy. Um, oh, also the lights are different too. Let there be light. All right, but anyway, video.